Hello everybody, this is Blue, and I would like to talk to you tonight about Samhain. Now this is my favorite Sabbath. It is very colorful, it is festive, it has a large positive tone to it. And I am encouraged to talk to everybody here about it because, I wanted to make sure everybody knew, you know, how and why to celebrate it. Just wanted to give you some of the information that I've been researching, and maybe this will help you think of a way to, celebrate it yourself. Okay. Now I have many books, and I got all my books opened up to the pages, so please bear with me on this part. First book I'm going to get is The Complete Idiot's Guide to Paganism. Okay. Now, I know the title of this book might seem kind of odd and all, but it is actually full of wonderful information for the beginning pagan. So if you are still very new on your path, get this book. This will help you a great deal. It does resolve some of the simplest questions. Some things are a little bit confusing when you're first starting out. Like I said, get this book if you are new to the path. Okay. Samhain is celebrated October 31st, November 1st. Samhain actually means summer's end, literally. It marks the end of the harvest. It is when all crops are to be brought in. A Celtic tradition, I thought this was quite interesting, is that come Samhain, any crops left in the field have to stay there. It was considered bad luck to take those crops. Those crops belong to Kaliach, and you don't offend Kaliach. Okay, so that was an interesting thing I read about. This is when all crops had to be gathered from the fields. Farmers needed to determine whether any of their livestock were too weak to survive the winter. This was also a time where they had to get rid of extra animals because, this is winter time. They have to conserve, they have to watch what they have, and they have to determine what they have to see if they can take care of so many heads of livestock. Okay. So the weaker animals were often then slaughtered to provide meat for the winter. Thus, Samhain was a somber time when summer and harvest both came to an end, and death seemed so especially near. Over time, Samhain came to be associated with those who have died and was regarded as a time of when the veil separating the two worlds was especially thin, enabling living mortals to converse more easily with the departed loved ones. This is a recurring theme in many of the books that I'm going to reference to. At Beltane and at Samhain, the veil between the two worlds is thinnest, and they say that it is easier to communicate and easier for the spirits to cross over. That is what brought out leaving out food, to honor those that had died. Many ceremonies and festivals came to be associated with this most sacred of pagan nights, but always with the theme of ending and new beginnings and or contact with the dead. After the arrival of Christianity in pagan Europe, this holiday became Christianized as All Saints' Day, in which the dead of the Christian families were venerated. That night became All Saints' Night and came to be known as Halloween and continued to be associated with the popular mind with the mysteries of the old pagan ways. If you have been a pagan for a long time, you know this, that many of the key pagan holidays, the Sabbaths, have been corrupted by Christianity. You really cannot find a Christian holiday that is an actual original Christian concept. I believe there is none. That's something that I want you to always remember. This is from The Practice of Celtic Wisdom, Druid Magic by Maya McGee Sutton, PhD, and Nicholas R. Mann. Okay. It's an interesting book. It does seem that they put a little bit more Christian in there than they should have. Samhain is Summer's End. I'm going to try to skip through some of the parts we've already discussed. The Celtic festival traditionally extended for a week or more over this period, so you have some leeway in when you celebrate it. It does not always have to be exactly on October 31st, because remember, this was all about lunar and solar calendars. This end of the year period is the third of the traditional harvest festivals. Celtic legend says that all crops were to be harvested by this day, since anything left in the fields belonged to Caliach. She is the hag embodied with the final sheath of oat that sickle-bearing reapers ritually severed from the earth and preserved inside the cottage until the next plant. One of the more interesting things I found in all my research was the corn doll. The farmers used to kind of race and get their crops harvested, and they would take their last corn husks and such, and they would make a corn doll out of it. And whoever was the last person to harvest their grain would have to take the corn doll and put it into like a crib and take care of it and bear it all winter long. So it was the motivation, because this was to pay honor to Caliach. And if the person who got it, who had to do the corn doll, had to bury it that spring when he planted his crops. So there's some interesting information. Samhain is the most powerful time of the year for Druids, unparalleled with opportunities to enter the spirit world and share profoundly with ancestors, dark gods, and goddesses. This season vibrates with death and renewal, the descent into dark realms and deep insights. Do your inner work at Samhain. As farmers neither plant nor reap in the winter, as seeds neither germinate nor die, so we take this time in the wheel of the year to do so. At Samhain, we hibernate with the good roots of our life forces, the very depths of our fears, the cavern of our insights, the core of our beings. Let this time of encroaching cold and dark call to you. Go within to the levels you would normally have no time for during the heat of the summer. Let us shift from the physical side of life to the spiritual. When the goddess lays out her summer lover upon the pyre of leaves, and the dark god emerges. Kind of interesting, isn't it? Although all the festivals are border times, evoking time of or between normal time, Samhain is a Celtic period of opening to the other worlds and the end of the Druid year. You will hear that the veil which divides the world is thinnest at this time. What do these concepts mean to you, and how you utilize them in your spiritual practice? Okay, think about it. We have questions. We have things that bother us. This would be a wonderful time to meditate and try to talk to those that we lost during this last year. Okay? I'm not going to read all of it, what they have for Samhain here. Some of the activities. Now, you got to remember that the Celts viewed the world differently. You see, the Greeks, they love to divide it everything. You know, you have your earth, your air, your fire, your water, and your spirit. You know, they put it into elements. They break things down. For the Celts, they believe in three realms: the earth, the sky, and the sea. Okay? And I love this theory. I remember theory is a good thing. For Earth, go to the cemetery and select a special rock and decorate it as a tombstone. Put photographs of memorabilia there along with autumn harvest and candles. Then commune with departed family members and friends, especially mourn those who died during the last year. Listen to any guidance and requests. Allow messages, images, feelings, and thoughts to come to you. Ask yourself, what do I want to do from my dark side? What do I want from my spirit at this time? Okay, again, this is communing with the spirits. You know, the veil is thinnest. Take use of this time. Sky. Visualize yourself approaching the edge of time and space. Bring yourself forward in imagery until you look over into the dead world. Go there if you wish and take in what you can. Astral travel. Okay. In the sea, go to the edge of the sea, a river, a body of water. Honor the spirits that reside there. They may receive an offering or anything you would like to release and give away. And, you know, this is paying tribute. We are to respect life. Well, spirits don't die. So, give something forth to show your respect. It's a very positive thing to do. Let's see. This is The Witch Book by Ray Buckland. It is the name for the witchcraft Greater Sabbath, and it falls on November Eve. It is properly known by non-witches as Halloween, the eve of All Hallows on the Christian calendar. It is the old pagan New Year, the end of the growing season and the start of the winter season, when long ago humankind had to go back to hunting animals for food. The witchcraft year ends and begins at Samhain. There are variations of its spelling, as with many different Gaelic names. Samhain is a time when witches believe that the veil between the worlds is thin. This, then, is a time when it can be relatively easy to commune with the spirits of loved ones who have died during this previous year. Many witches believe that the dead come back to celebrate the Sabbath with them. This is the idea that gave rise to the stories of ghosts at Halloween. It is also from this idea of communications with the dead that Samhain is considered an especially good time to do divination for the future. In the old days, it would have been a critical interest to divine the nature of the coming winter. Okay. The Samhain feast, was the big one. This was the time when the herds and the flocks had to be thinned, leaving only enough sheep and cattle essential to continue to be fed during the harsh winter months. The rest would be slaughtered, their meat would be salted and stored. The Samhain feast therefore included plenty of fresh meat cooked on the sacred Samhain fires. Such fires blaze from all the mountain tops, marking visual lines of pagan associations across the length and breadth of Britain and much of Western Europe. Such balefires, burned at all the major Sabbaths. So, okay, build a fire. I mean, it's cold out there, right? Build a fire. Find some wood. It doesn't have to be a major fire, but nonetheless, find a place where you can burn a fire. I unfortunately had to cut down parts of some trees in my yard, and I am going to build a Samhain fire. I am going to get some potatoes. I'm going to wrap those in foil and put them in the fire so that, I'm cooking something. I don't think I'm going to do any meat, but I am going to do some vegetables into the fire. Okay. Apples and nuts became associated with Samhain from the ancient Roman festivals of Pomona, which took place on November 1st, and which celebrated the ripening of the fruits. The apples was the Celtic silver bough and the fruit of the underworld, symbolizing love, fertility, wisdom, and divination. The game of apple bobbing originated with this festival, combining the knowledge of the ripened fruit and the desire to foresee the future. Apples are floated in a tub of water and must be sieved and pulled out only by using the teeth. The apple is then peeled, with the peel being kept in one long strip. Throwing the apple peel over the shoulder, it would land in a shape of the initial one's future spouse. You gotta enjoy some of these little tidbits of information. Pliny gives an account of a Druid festival at this time and the cutting of the mistletoe from the oak tree. It was cut with a golden sickle and caught in the white cloak, since it was believed it must never touch the ground. And that's a wonderful thing. It's got 3 books left. Now, some of you might love jack-o'-lanterns and all, but I want you to realize that they did not have pumpkins growing up in the British Isles. They had turnips. And so they had turnip lanterns. They would take a turnip or a rutabaga, basically a large root plant, and they would shape them into skulls, and they would place the candle in there, and it would give off an eerie yellow light. So do your jack-o'-lanterns with your pumpkins, but also grab a turnip or a rutabaga and try your hand at carving that into a skull and placing a tea light candle in there. Some of the more interesting things associated with Samhain. For gems, it's obsidian, onyx, and carnelian. Some of the foods associated would be apples, squash, fresh meat, with the herbs of allspice and sage. So I might do a turkey, make some sage dressing to go along with my potatoes. And I'll do an acorn squash as well. So blessed be. Have a very happy Samhain, and I'll see you on the next video.